Warm, friendly hellos. This is the March 17th first call taking place for the Filecoin Plus program. Here's what we have on the agenda for this call. We're going to start out with a nice friendly plug for the folks over at the USC Shoah Foundation. We'll talk about highlights on what this data set is and the call for any storage providers that are looking to store some really valuable, high quality data. Next, we'll check in from an allocator perspective and just a rule reminder about your roles and responsibilities for ensuring that multiple clients aren't applying to multiple pathways with the same data. Next, just another check-in on the sunsetting of inactive allocators. So these are pathways that receive DataCap and have had no action. So we'll talk about what steps you can do if you're on that list. But if you've been making transactions, just kind of wait as we go through it. Another update is that all allocators will be resubmitting their applications in 2025. We'll show you the link to look at this doc. We've had this open for 2 weeks for feedback. Just letting you know that this is about to close and giving you a warm update that in the next couple of weeks, we'll be asking for all allocator pathways to resubmit their application for updates. Then a check-in on throttling. We had 27 instances in the last year of DataCap Refresh applications that received a throttle. So what does that mean? What should you do if that happens? And then kind of make you aware of a post that we're going to launch just as a friendly check-in on what to do and what your roles and responsibilities are as allocators. Next, steps on the application if your process was removed from GitHub. This doesn't happen very often, but we'll check in should a member of your organization delete your application to become a pathway. What should you do in that circumstances? Then last, we'll check in on applications to join the program. If you turn in a manual application, what should you expect next? If you're working on a novel pathway, some really exciting news is in the form of Eric's experimental pathways, and that'll really help you out and fast track that tech. As always, if you have questions, feel free to shoot a hand up in chat or in the slides and we'll stop and go through it. So thanks for being here. Let's take a quick look. So as always, feel free to add anything to the agenda. I post these after the call. Any topics you want to see, any applications for refresh, anything you want, just link it here in this doc and I'll build it into the agenda as we go. These calls take place every other week. Thanks for being here. I know with the time change, some things could shift, but we always share these in Slack if you're looking for an update on what's on the agenda as well as the slides, and then the link here for anything you may need. As a metrics check-in, we've had 6 new clients in the last 2 weeks, so a rather slow period for the Phil Plus program, which resulted in 32 petabytes onboarded. So thank you to the 68 active allocators. That 68 number is a little bit of a bump up from 62. So we're really excited to see these new pathways as they do their testing and come on board to really start bringing that data. So thank you. All right. Hey, the first item was the Shoah Foundation. So I mentioned this in the introduction. They're based out of USC, and what they're doing is they're preserving the legacy of the Holocaust survivors with visuals. And it's just a really good data set, a really firm thing to get behind. And they're looking for storage providers. So if you were an allocator and you have storage providers that were keen off a data set, reach out. Social Impact team, I have their contact information linked in Slack. But again, if you're a storage provider and you're looking for a great data set that's a really good benefit to humanity, just going to share this one for you if you don't want to look at it. Updates from the governance side of the house. First off, we noticed this on 3 DataCap Refresh applications that came through recently. And essentially what's happened is the same client has applied to multiple pathways for a DataCap Refresh. This is going to happen from time to time. The client could be looking for the fastest pathway to respond, and that's natural. Just be mindful if you are an allocator and you're allocating the DataCap that you should ask the client as part of your diligence, have you received DataCap for this data set from a different pathway? Doing so will limit the amount of audit time that comes back on the refresh. Failure to do so could result in throttling in the future. So a nice friendly plug, be sure that part of your diligence plan is asking clients, hey, I know it's normal to apply to several sources. Is this data set being onboarded by a different pathway? Next, inactive allocators. So back in June, we took a quick audit and there were 6 pathways that had 0 activity. We reached out, we didn't hear back. They were all set to inactive, but their data cap remained for when they might eventually turn back on or get back to us. Since that hasn't happened, those organizations that you see we're going to turn off the remaining data cap on those pipelines. So not only is your JSON file inactive, but now the data cap will be removed. Very, very warm invitation whenever you'd like to come back. Love to have you. Just submit a new application. You'll have to go through the same onboarding plan. But just as a reminder, if you don't use the data cap, we will be auditing it and just asking that, hey, if you're not going to do it, we're going to sunset it and invite you back anytime. Every other allocator in the program, thanks for your work. We've started to see something come up over the last year. As we all create our business plans, things change. So allocator applications that were submitted in late Q4 of 2023, we're now a full year and a half into the process, and we're noticing that some diligence things have changed, some KYC has changed, some Tron schedules have changed. So we're just trying to say, how can we capture these changes without slowing you down in that DataCap refresh process? And that's what this updated allocator application is going to be. So on the last call, we shared the Google Drive where it had the sample questions. We were seeking feedback if it was redundant, if it was too time burdensome. Some of the feedback that we got is the time to complete the form is around 10 minutes. So it's a quick, just updating. And what we're looking for is a recommitment to your business plan, to your Tron schedule, to retrieval metrics. And when you fill this out, this will just renew your space in the program. With this, we're hoping to make sure that that data cap refresh can get as fast and as simplified for you, and that we don't have to constantly go back and make sure the standards are met. So all allocators will be asked to fill out this refresh template in April and then go by it. Patrick, I see your question in chat, meaning it's an update by the end of April. I think the timelines are loose. We're still waiting for Galen to do the final approval, and once that comes through from him, I'd like to give you as much time as possible. Vacations, business plans. So we don't have a hard deadline. In the red that you see there, the required to update, we will get you that form as soon as possible, probably within the next week or two, and then give you to April to fill that out. If there is some kind of pressing issue, just let us know. But the goal is to have these completed by April, to answer your question. Thanks for that, Patrick. We've seen some sporadic issues where an organization, for whatever reason, has deleted their GitHub application for their pathway to onboard. This doesn't get deleted unless the organization deletes it, which kind of creates a unique situation. So just to kind of put this out there from a governance sharing standpoint, if for whatever reason an organization chooses to delete their application, they will have to refile another application. So this means that the governance team can't pull that old application up and repost it. We use GitHub as the repository source of truth. So just want to caution all organizations out there to please not delete your application. Even if a user that made the application deletes their GitHub account, the application will remain. The only way that the application can be deleted is if the user chooses to delete that public record. And since GitHub is the program record on file for all these repositories, the governance team is unable to repost that back. So apologies if for whatever reason your organization may have chosen to delete the application, but you will need to repost a new application and refile. Throttling. So any pathway that's going through their DataCap refresh is seeing that they either get their match granted of 5 petabytes, they get doubled to 10, then 20, then 40. But there are unique times when a pathway has not performed to the standards that they set in their application. What results is a throttling of DataCap. So rather than giving a refresh of 5 PIBs, that pathway would receive 2.5. The purpose of this throttle is that the time is now given to that organization to correct the issues that were identified. If that organization corrects, wonderful. We now match that petabyte and double it again. But if we're seeing issues that come up, the throttling is designed that that organization can correct that issue. So allocators that are unwilling or unable to correct those issues will see first refresh throttled, and then they see that they may not receive additional data cap. Now, some of the reasons for those issues to be throttled kind of come down to these big five. And I'm going to post a discussion shortly that has these summarized in written format for you. But there's no due diligence. We can't see who the client is. We can't see any record. We can't see how it's going to be communicated. So being sure that all those are documented either in your own system or in GitHub. The second is the accuracy of the storage providers. I realize that things change with the business cycle, but one of the purposes of the community reviewing it and the governance and the root key holder is that if you say you're going to work with certain SPs in certain regions, it should follow that. And it's the allocator's role to follow up with those SPs to making sure that that it's happening. And if not, that's the allocator's role to not give additional data cap, just like it's the program's role to not give the data cap to the allocators. The third is CID duplication and distribution. So when we see this duplication come through, we shouldn't be storing 45 copies of the same public data set that's already available in all regions. So as we work to kind of improve the data as the program gets better and better over time, you'll see more metrics come through, but be mindful of your distribution and how that's taking place. One of the other ones we see quite heavily is the retrieval rating. If it's public open data, it should be retrievable. And if we don't see that retrievability and we've kind of left you input, we've connected you with the Spark team, we've answered questions, if for whatever reason you're not able to meet those benchmarks, then that will be another reason for the throttling. So as we move forward with new applications, as we start to roll out new proposals that we'll talk about, that bar for Spark retrievability will continue to increase. So be mindful that the data that you're onboarding or providing for the onboarding is public and retrievable and has a high Spark retrievability score. And the last is just general compliance. We'll see either no KYC or limited KYC. In your bookkeeping repo, you should list who asked you for that data cap, why you gave it to them, and who they are. If you can check all five of those, wonderful. We'll get that watchdog review. Governance process can just do a quick sign off on it and get that out the door. So we're hoping as the process goes on longer, this just gets faster and faster. And we'll even check on a metric on that as this presentation continues. To that, here's what we look at for that DataCap refresh time. And this is one of the priorities now coming forward from the governance team for the next Q2. We had a goal to get that refresh time down to 2 weeks. So to keep you updated on some of the events taking place to get that 2-week goal, is the foundation has hired more auditors to look through these process. So we're not roadblocked off just one individual who we're waiting for to take care of it. 2, the manual allocator pathway was created. So if you run a manual pathway, no longer do you have to wait for a root key holder to allocate the data cap. The foundation can allocate it, which should also save additional time. There was a new standardized template that was put forward with feedback on ways to fill that out. So rather than having to constantly ask for questions from the allocator pathway back and forth, there should be one unified way of filling it out. And the last one that I would leave for any allocators on the call, it's responding to any questions to the watchdog as soon as they come through. If the watchdog finishes its review and it's tagged waiting for comment from allocator and it takes 5 or 6 days, there could be a window cycle where then that application now has to wait an additional 5 or 6 days as it goes forward. So the one in green, it's a way that you can fast track your application. If you have no further input, just leave it. The other 3 are on us. So we'll keep you updated. Right now, we're averaging around 33 days from start to finish. And again, the goal is to get that down to 14. So looking forward to giving an update as that gets tighter and tighter. All right. Applications, if you want to come onto the program. As a review, there are 60 plus manual pathways. So the prioritization for scarce resource, bandwidth, and support is that there is not a high need for new manual applications at this time. We'll hold them on file as manual applications or organizations drop off. We'll be willing to onboard those manual applications. So if you've submitted one, it's on file. We will keep it, and when it's needed, when there's less than those 60 and we're needed them, we'll file them back. For the pathways that are market or automated, I wanted to check in on a lesson learned from the past 6 months. It's that it takes a lot of effort, time, and knowledge to look at these applications for how you're going to run a novel approach and then provide either feedback or onboarding. And so this has led to some organizations turning in really complex MVPs or a skeleton MVP of what they plan to do, but then really being unsure of like, what are next steps? I've thought about how I want my pathway to go, but I don't know where I need to go to actually demonstrate it. There's been a DataCap faucet that was available for testing, but we have a new solution that's coming on board that we're excited to talk about. And that's a new pathway called experimental, which you see there in the green. And this is for any organization that would like to submit a request for allocator to become a new base system. So instead of doing a manual review, what tooling can you put in place to automate that process? So let's talk about what that experimental allocator is. It's going to provide 1 petabyte of data cap for a novel approach of deal making. So this isn't for, I want to run a manual pathway and do this manual and work on my tooling in the process. This is, I want to stand up something new. And the goal is that it's much faster to onboard and get this new pathway set up for testing, for client discovery. So hopefully we're going to hope that this encourages collaboration and development. You can come back to this for feedback. We're looking at resources to give you more technical guidance on what might need to be needed in the README file, how to get DataCap for testing. So again, really excited about this experimental pathway. You can find this at 313, and this was a new project that was kicked off by Fiddle. And one of the things to highlight is they listed out all of the descriptions for what should be in that pathway. So how will the automated be used? What's your allocation schedule? Metrics for success. So if you've turned in an application, I will leave a comment in each application in GitHub to this link on 313. And you might find great value if you're developing to go to this pathway to onboard your new data set. So real excited. This is one of the big ones. Looking forward to this. And again, the goal of this experimental pathway is that if you want to become a new allocator, this is a great way to stand up, great way to receive mentorship and get on board and start onboarding data. So those were updates from the governance side. These are all in Slack. I'll post this on YouTube as well as the GitHub repository. I'd like to now stop talking, pause, and see if anybody on the line has any questions or anything you'd like to dive into. Floor is all yours.
Hello. Hello. Can I speak in, Kevin?
Uppool. Yes, very friendly hellos. Floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you. Our list number is 3, 1, and 1. And I just want to in the last review, Galen give us 4 suggestions. Find out new data set. 2, SP should be in 3 continent. 3, calculate the size of the data set. 4, client needs to provide more in-depth information. In this long, we have approved 3 clients according to Galen's suggestion. We have approved the old client 2 PIB before the approval the SP distribute in 3 continents, except 2 USP had some problem with data center. Others SP support the travel, and they had provided index files. Overall, we are working hard to let top pool allocation looks good. However, Filecoin Watchdog tells us the letter had a current data set only 110 GB. This was very terrifying to us. We asked the client on GitHub, the explained that they download data from common network. they matched DC with formal date and then sent to us piece. So we checked other allocators clearance and found that most LDNs had the problem. Many datasets had only one TIB, but they saved more than 10 PIBs. This proves that File Plus faces some challenges. We think the government team and the allocators need to work together to resolve the problem. In the next round, we will continue to improve the review work, focus on the dataset, thinking more good currents and SPs. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so grateful for you for coming, and thank you for providing a little bit more detail on that. For anybody watching or on the call, Top Pool is now in their fifth refresh as they've gone through, and their first four, they've had doublings, then a match, and then a double. And so with this DataCap refresh, what we're looking at were the SPs that were listed in these tranches, the ones that were used, and how did that DataCap come through? Thank you to the watchdog and the community that left feedback on this. That way it's a little bit more public and everyone can kind of learn from this. And Top Pool, thank you to you for taking the time to kind of answer these questions line by line in a very clear and systematic breakdown. Top Pool, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tag this on Galen's radar. That way it's top of mind for him. Let him know you're on the call. I'll take this recording and make sure that he has that. So if there's any information that he needs, he can then fast track that and get back to you. Is there anything else that you might want to add or anything that I could share with him before I pass that back?
Okay, thank you. If you can tell me the Galen, I'm very grateful for you and very thank you.
Oh, we're just as grateful for you. Just as grateful for you. Well, thank you again. Thanks for flagging this. I see that you left the comments a couple of hours ago. So as soon as he comes in, I'll be sure that this is on his radar. Thanks again for coming. I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Sometimes we have a lot of discussion and sometimes it's just a friendly sharing of what's going on behind the scenes. I think that this call might be that friendly sharing scenario. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording. I'm going to stop the screen share and I'm just going to hang out on the call in case anyone joins late and they might have a question or need support. But otherwise, this will conclude the call. Top Pool, Eric, Alexandre, MPG, Damien, thank you so much for coming. Chad, Alexandre, you miss heated discussions. Well, I'm going to remember that and be absent on those days. I do not like heated discussions, so I will be happy to show up for the calm ones. All right, everyone. So I'll see you on the next call. It's 1800 Pacific, 0200 UTC. All the best. Eric, hey, micro update for you since you're on the phone. We are finalizing that allocator spotlight that we did back at FDS. So I'll send it over to you before it goes live for your input. It's real sharp. It's real polished. Took all the ums and ahs out. I think you're really going to like it.
Thank you, Kevin.
Hey, thank you. All right, everyone. Again, I'm going to stop the recording, stop the screen share, turn off my line, just in case anyone shows up that needs technical support. But thank you all again for your time. You have a wonderful week. Cheers, everyone.
Nice day.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, we're at the second call, just Jimmy and I. And due to the time change, I don't think a lot of folks are here. Jimmy, rather than just walking you through the slides, is there anything that I can get you or run down for you or do for you? You have my undivided attention.
Sorry, actually, I have two questions from my friends because they don't understand English, so they asked me to ask for it.
Love it. How can I help?
Okay. First one is from the allocate fuel, I think fuel drive. I think the number is, let me check.
I'll look it up too.
Zero drive. Yeah, I posted here.
Build drive.
Yeah, I haven't checked the feedback yet. I say the Allocator has already called you about the status. It has been 3 weeks for which dog to change the status, but the Allocator doesn't know if there any further action the Allocator needed to take to change the status.
Yeah, let's take a look. So this is their second review.
Yeah.
Their first time they got a full top off.
Mhm.
They had 3 clients. Let's see what the community said about it. So it was stored. Looks like there was identical applications. Number of copies was reduced. Log file. Jimmy, if you can give them feedback, one of the things that really helps is this screenshot we have. This is great. What's even better is if they could link wherever this lives. If this is public information like the payload CID data,
Mhm.
put this like where we could have the link. That'll also make it
Yeah.
faster. But
Yeah,
let me keep looking.
I think he had already posted the link here. Yeah, just
Okay.
on site.
Oh, got it right here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I see a
Yeah.
lot of back and forth about the link,
Yeah, I
and
appreciate
I
that.
guess.
Let me do this. I'm gonna,
Mhm.
so for disclosure, I'm not the one who gives the final approval. This goes to
Mhm.
Galen. What I'm gonna
Mhm.
do is flag this. I think that File Drive has answered pretty much everything that the watchdog had flagged. Where's the data, making it publicly available? I think what we're doing is we're just waiting on Galen now. Let me check Galen's notes and see where
Yeah,
this is.
usually I remember first the watchdog should mark the changes about the status, then Galen will follow up. But now this time I think watchdog didn't match the status.
Let me take a look.
Mhm.
Yeah, it should be good. This is on Galen's radar. I'm checking our
okay.
back end. Let me look here.
Okay.
Let's see where File Drive is. Yeah, this one's just waiting for Galen to make that final pass and give the feedback. One
Okay.
thing that I would share with you is rather than walking you through the whole slides,
Mhm.
let me show you 2 things. When you get back to your friends for translation, the refresh time, we're making this one of our priorities for Q2. What happens is there's just one person. So we're just kind of blocked on that person. And so the average wait time is around 20 days. We're trying to
Mhm.
get that under 2 weeks. So
Okay,
File Drive
great.
will see project as it goes through on that.
Mhm.
And let me flag this. I will bubble this up to Galen. And that means
Mhm.
by Thursday, he'll see this one and I'll flag this as like, hey, came to the governance call, waiting for this. If he needs anything, I'll have him reply to that. And so they should
Yeah.
see an update by Galen by Thursday night, California time. So Friday morning when you come in.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Hey, thank you for coming. And sorry about this. We're working on getting
Okay.
this faster and faster and trying to automate these things where humans are slowing us down.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I think this question is done. Another question is about the application for Aura. The allocator shares some conversation between you and the Aura.
Which would you mind linking it? Okay,
yeah,
looks
yeah.
like you're already on it. Let me pull this up here.
Yeah.
Make sure I got this. Oh, yes. Yes. All right.
Yeah,
Another update for
yeah.
you. So this Ola, what's been slowing this one down is it's a request for allocator and it's a manual. The
It's
issue that
manual.
we're having,
Okay.
but let me tell you something. This one right here, we are standing up a new meta allocator pathway just for new applications like Ola. So rather than having to wait for someone like me or someone to get technical on it, Fiddle has created a new pathway, 306. Let me pull it up here for you.
Okay.
Got it linked here. 313. This is beautiful. So let Ola know to please check out 313, and I'll link it here in chat. It's also in the slides as we go through it. The purpose of this pathway is that folks like Ola, if they want to make a market-based or automated-based or something other than manual, they can submit for this experimental pathway. And it's more of like a working MVP. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you'll get 1 petabyte of DataCap. And then you can disperse that and test and iterate on your systems. So rather than having it perfect, please tell Ola to check out this proposal and they could submit for this pathway much faster, much easier. And we're really excited. So this should really help Ola rather than waiting for this to come on board.
Okay, great.
And then the goal is that you get that data cap within a week and then start iterating and going.
Okay. Yeah, actually, Ola team has worked with the Vena team to develop some automatic tools. This tool is only for checking the performance of SPs. Currently, we have some criteria for SPs, for example, VPN, the distribution, retrieval rate. This tool can retrieve some data from different tools and consolidate together for one report. Every morning, the allocator can look at the report and review the whole picture of the performance. Then they can make some decision quickly. I think this is some kind of automated, right?
I love it. I love it. And that's exactly what this experimental pathway is looking to do. And this is one of the roadblocks that we found is doing this, is that when we have these new pathways come up, they require so much technical oversight. So the goal is that rather than having to wait for that technical oversight, you can start to develop this with your clients and not have to block. We're trying to remove the bureaucracy as much as possible, get out of the way and let you iterate. So please let Ola know, have them put in a proposal with 313, and that's the fastest way to get spun.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah,
Oh,
it's very helpful.
Thank you.
It's very helpful.
Your time is appreciated.
Okay.
Is there anything I can get for you? Well, it's just you and I.
Yeah, I think the meta allocator is very helpful. I saw this distribution is very quickly this time, so it's very helpful. Yeah.
Faster and faster. The goal is to get that where it's just instant. You run out of data cap, it just refills for you. So we're getting there. We're working towards it. You'll see it soon.
Okay, great. Everything is okay from my side.
Oh, that sounds delightful. Well, it might just be a very small group with the time change. I think a lot of people are going to join a little bit later, but if there's anything else you need, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to turn off my webcam. I'll stay on the call in case anyone joins, but thank you again for coming. Please let Ola know, and I'll file up on Phil Drive for Galen.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Jimmy, all the best to you, bud.
Okay, bye-bye.
Cheers.